in the gymnasium, I could just picture like it's a gym class, it's math class, and everybody is sitting on the bleacher.
So then there's this large group. So how do you social distance in these?
Right. You can't, right? Oh my gosh.
No.
Well,
Crazy times.
I had a lot more people that said they were coming. So, but we're not going to wait for them. If they get on, they get on. So, how did it go for the big Y, the watching the video? And I have it in my email here because I was like, Irene, I need help. I don't have anything with me, like the papers. I'm used to paper. So
yeah, I don't have mine pulled up. I mean, I do, but I don't. I just have to.
I think for me this time, so I've done the big Y, I think 2 or 3 times. This is my 3rd time doing it. And this time I actually had quite a bit to put into my big Y. You know, I sat down and actually thought of what I wanted to put in here. You know, it's it's a reflection of what do you really want? Not just the quick answer, but you know, what are you doing this for? So
yeah, absolutely. Well, I felt like you did a lot of self-reflection because that email you sent me, Irene's like, what got into Shantia and how can we get that into everybody else?
Because, you know, and I talked to you in my one-on-one, like I was just in this rut and I just, you know, I just was trying to bring myself out of it. It's a new year, you know, start putting forth some effort, more effort, and just, you know, buckle down. And you know, because you can't, how do you expect something to happen if you're not taking steps? You know, you can't just sit here and hope for things to happen. So.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so I'm looking at the big Y. So it says, using the prompts below, identify your big Y, write down and keep it where you can reference it regularly. So that's one thing I think like I have not done, like keep it out in front of me, like even on a Post-it note, you know what I mean? Like on the bathroom mirror, you know, like, because if you're, or by your bedside or whatever, like if you see it and you think about it, then it's it actually can, it's like those vision boards, right? Like they talk about those, and when you make those and they sit right in front of your space, which interestingly enough, Steve Rawl dropped off a bunch of magazines in my office the other day and it said for vision boards. And I was like, what?
Oh.
So that'll probably be homework for like the next week or two. And it doesn't have to be giant, you know, like it can just be a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. And you just take pictures from magazines or words or whatever motivates you, right? And it's funny because when I look at my past ones, I think I have one thrown behind the desk here. Let me see. So this was 2020, and so Maui didn't happen because of COVID, and Mexico didn't happen because of COVID, but they were planned, right? Like I had the plane tickets, it was happening, and then in June, and then COVID happened. But it was really cool to have that to look at as a reference point. And then, you know, I mean, 2020 was a little depressing, be like, oh yeah, so none of that happened, but whatever. fine. No one's happened.
No.
So would you guys like to share what you have for your big Y?
Sure, I can. I feel like mine's changed, and it's where I'm at right now. And I also think like it might change by summer again, you know, because I am working full time and it's been kind of a crazy year.
Yep.
So I said it's my backup career for when I'm no longer wanting to work in mental health in the school system. And then, I mean, this is motivation now. It's vacation, spending money. I love to travel with my family and make memories. And even just with the schedule, like I feel with school schedules, you're so limited and when you can travel. So like it goes beyond like the money part of it, you know, just flexibility and stuff like that in my schedule, and not even traveling far. I mean, it could be like going to Duluth for a day
Right.
during the week, just having those little mini vacations.
Yeah, absolutely. Or
So.
maybe a sports tournament.
Oh, yeah, that's typically what we do.
You went on a big one to Cooperstown, didn't you?
We did, yes.
Yeah.
So.
And you were writing an offer during that. I remember that.
Yep, and took on a new buyer.
Yes. That's the thing is if you want business, go on vacation because you will automatically get business.
That's what I need to do more often, clearly, because it happened when I went to Arizona too last spring.
It's like it's totally crazy. It's out in the universe that you're planning on something else.
Yep. Well, I'm going to Mexico in the beginning of March, so maybe
Nice.
that will be more. But my buyer, actually, it's Dan's brother. He's going with us, so I'm like, well, I don't need to have somebody major cover for you because you won't be able to look at houses.
Right.
But,
where are you going to Mexico?
It is like south of Playa del Carmen a little bit.
Okay.
Or south of Cancun. We're flying into Cancun. So
nice. I got tickets for Mexico last week and I realized we do not have passports.
Oh no.
Critical error. So
when are you going?
March 19th. So I went in on Tuesday and they said we have enough time, but I'm like,
okay. I was gonna say we got ours because my boys were taking the kids, and they initially told us February. Well, we got them like within a month.
Oh, good.
So
we have like 9.5 weeks before we're going. So
okay.
It was just one of those things where all of a sudden I was like, that's my social security card. Yeah. Wonder why that's sitting out. And oh my God. I was like, Mike, he's like, holy crap, how did we do that? I'm like, I don't know. We're still going.
Yeah. We're gonna find a way. Are you bringing your kids?
Yeah. So we're all going and we're going to my best friend's house in Mexico City. And then, so Olivia and I are going on Saturday and then Mike has a tournament with Peyton. So they're going on like Wednesday because he only has 3 days off of work. And she was like, well, what do you want to do? And all this stuff, and then I told her and she's like, I'm still processing I'm getting my passport this week statement. And I'm like, it's going to be okay. We're going to do it. So awesome.
Hope it comes.
All right. Yeah. Who else would like to share?
I can definitely share. I've got big financial goals for this year. I think that's the main reason that I want to get into this. I've gone most of my life without having not a financial plan, but I've never worried about finances or being like in a secure spot until I bought my house a couple of years ago, but I didn't really change anything. And a big part of that was my band will leave for like large chunks of time and we'll be on the road and I have to stop working. And the only kind of job that I could have where I could work full time, leave for a few months and come back was bartending. Right. So it kind of held me there. And at this point I'm like, well, I could do this. And then most of you haven't met her yet, but my girlfriend Marissa is also getting her license. So she'll be able to, be my go-to when I'm on the road. But yeah, just becoming financially stable so that I can continue to work on music, and otherwise it's gotta stop. And I hope not. It's expensive.
Right.
So yeah. And I really just want to do something that I enjoy every day. And so far I've enjoyed every part of this. So that's my big why.
Yeah. And you, I mean, the other thing too is that really, when you did like shadowed Ryan And then you were able to see, I mean, while you're shadowing him, somebody walks in and is like, yeah, so I want to buy this house and I need to sell my house. And and then you got to go on the listing appointment with him. And, so those kind of things, where they don't happen all the time. They do happen. And, and then I think they told him, if you do well on this one, we have my mom's place that we want to sell. Right. So it was 3 transactions from one open house. And, that's crazy, and and he does a lot of them. Right. So that's his main source of lead gen. That and Sphere. So, I think that was super awesome. And then you were pretty diligent too about reaching out to your Sphere and talking to them, and have had success with that, right?
Yeah, I think my Sphere and open houses are like my go-to. Marissa and I also just did 450 golden letters this last weekend. So depending on how that goes, we might continue. We have like a number in mind for like a weekly amount, but I had an open house this weekend that I got 3 awesome leads from. One signed a contract already with me. Another one she just got pre-approved through my lender, so I'm just hoping she signs contract with me as well. And
awesome.
So open houses are the way for me.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, who else would like to share?
I'll share my big why. And I'm just going to read what I wrote. I'm just going to read it off. So my big why, I want to be able to work for myself, build my brand, and create a successful business that I can be proud of. I want to have a business where I can create my own schedule and have time to spend with my kids on important events, since I'm single parent now, so that's really important for me. And it's important for me to establish an income where I can leave my current full-time job, and then receive income from managing my own properties and real estate sales. So I want to be able to purchase investment properties. I want to be able to travel without worries of time off or how I'm going to cover expenses. And I want to set up a business where my children could possibly work from in the future.
Yeah.
So,
and how old are your kids again?
14 and 8.
Okay. Yeah. My 17-year-old is going to be 18 in February. And I told her, I was like, all along, I'm like, you're getting your license, because you can just be a showing agent. Right. So now, what she tells me? I'm really busy. I'm like, yeah, you're really busy. What the crap? So, but that is super amazing to be able to do that. Like, and I, like college, like during breaks, during summers, if if they can do that, I mean, like you just roll it into your program, your business. So that's awesome.
The other thing I'd say about that as well, and this is something that Kelly and I talk about a lot, is even if they don't necessarily directly jump into real estate, the connections you make, for example, with the title people, with mortgage lenders and things like that, help them find places that they can go that are ancillary to the business, but you've made contacts that help them get into places that if for whatever reason it's not a great fit, you still can help them launch them into their career, which these days for all of our kids, I know my kids are in that same place where they're literally lost about what to do, and to be able to help them find some guidance or at least get them started. I mean, 250 years ago when we all worked in farming and things like that, I mean, your kid was going to be a farmer, and that's just the way it was. And they were following in your footsteps, and you knew all the things and you could teach them that. And that same sort of thing is going on today. And by building your business, you're able to launch them into a lot of different directions. And, with the financial freedom that you develop, obviously that can lead to a whole nother set of patterns if that's what they want to do. And that's such a great thing When you talk about why you have a big why, that's the big why, right? I mean, that's the one that
Mhm.
impacts you every day when you go, I don't know if I want to make 100 calls today, you know? And then you think about, but this isn't just today. This is my future. This is my children's future. This is their lives. I can make 10 calls. And you start with that 10, and before you know it, you're back up to your 100 goal. But it's the why that gets you over that first 5 call hump.
Yeah, and I think, a big thing that I've talked to with a lot of agents is the whole, I mean, it is a hard mentality of making calls, right? Like that's something that really freaks people out, right? And when you look at it, it's like it's not difficult, right? The phone's not heavy. It's just knowing your script, right? And I always say, well, do something that you don't hate, right? Like Jason Herkamp always says, pick 2 lead gen sources you don't hate, and then do them for 6 months. Because if you don't do them for 6 months, it doesn't matter. You're like, yeah, well, I did that. How long did you do open houses? Well, I did 3. Oh, okay. Well, that's not enough, right? And where one experience may not be so great, the more you do them, the more success you'll end up having. I mean, I think I've told you guys, there's an agent in Austin, Texas that Melissa Lombard used to work with, and she is the queen of open houses, and she did 100 open houses and got nothing. And she just kept going, right? And that was when she first started, and now open houses are her thing. And had she have stopped, that never would have been the case, and we can get super down on ourselves super quick about, well, this isn't working, right? And so if you pick something like Taylor, you picked social media, right? If you pick that one thing and open houses and you stick with it, then you start to see the benefits from it, like I've done golden letters. So I think Olivia did 1,500 in the summer, and I just did like 100 a week. And like I have a buy sell from it, and that buy sell pays for my golden letters for probably a couple of years, like at least, right? And so if you think of it in that mentality, and it's pretty cool because they're just calling you, right? And like I've said in the past, make sure you know what your script is when they do call you, because that's super awkward. Because I was like driving home from school, drop my kid off at school, and I'm driving home and I get this call. I'm like, I don't know who that is. I better answer it. Now I'm like, well, I don't know who it is. It's probably a golden letter, right? But I'm like, hi, this is Jessica. Whatever. And so then he goes into it, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm saying. I don't even have, I don't have a script. So make sure you have that, because that's going to happen, right? They're going to call you. So
Jessica, that's something I'd love to like role play or like
Yeah.
go over with you, because I'm kind of terrified right now if like for the phone ringing this week.
right. The good thing is that they 9 times out of 10 they'll leave a message because they know it's you. They're expecting you, right? But other times they'll call and then they'll hang up and then they'll call again, and I was like, oh crap, I know what that is, right? So then I call them back. I'm like, oh, I missed a call from you, and then they're like, yeah, I got a letter from you. So which letter did you send out? Was it the one that's super specific, like we have a buyer for your house, or was it bigger where it was like we have a buyer in your neighborhood? Who likes your neighborhood?
We have a buyer, their address. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So what I do is I use that second letter. So the one that's in your Google folder, that's the one I look at because that first one is what I sent, whether it's super short, it's like 1 sentence. And I think Jason Kelly's sending that one out.
Yeah.
And and so I just say what is on that second letter, the one that's in your Google Drive. I'll just be like, oh yeah, so I've, and they're like, so you have a buyer? And I'm like, yeah, I for sure do. And they're like, okay, well, let me, how does this work? I'm like, well, when was the last time that your house was on the MLS? Because I don't look those up right beforehand. And they're like, well, we bought it 20 years ago. Oh, okay. So have you done any work on it? Oh yeah, we've done a lot of work. So we did, like the bathrooms and the kitchen and right. And they start telling you all the stuff and you're writing it down. And then and then I say, well, you know what? That is super great. The thing is the pictures that my client is looking at is, if it's 20 years ago, is the one picture from the front of your house. Or maybe there are pictures in there and they're super dated. So I was wondering if I could come over to your house sometime this week and just take a couple of quick pictures, because then I can show them to my client and make sure that this is something they're interested in, right? Because yes, they love the neighborhood, they love the outside. However, we have to make a match with the inside as well, right? And they're like, oh yeah, okay. And then they'll kind of like hem and haw and they're like, well, this isn't what I thought it was. And I'm like, okay, right. What did you think it was? Well, I thought you literally had somebody to buy my house. And like they had some long lost story of like how this was their childhood house, and I'm like, buddy, your house was built in 2000. Probably not, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So, but usually and then you just deal with it, right? And so then I said, hey, well, you know what? That's great. Would you be interested in finding out how much your home is worth? Because, the home housing market is crazy. And then they're like, yeah, that's good. Or let me talk to my wife, or, just an email won't hurt, or whatever they say, right? So then I have their home address, I have their contact info, I have their phone number, I have their email. Then I put them on my 36 touch, right? So they're always getting stuff. And like the neighborhood nurture too is good, because they start to see stuff on their house. And I have gotten people who are like, yeah, do you want to come over tonight? And I'm like, oh God, no, I can't come over tonight. I was like, how about tomorrow? Right? Oh yeah, tomorrow's good. So then I go over and take pictures and they tell me all the stuff. And one of them, I was over there for like 2 hours. And eventually they finally say, yeah, well, I don't like this. And then she says, I don't like that, but we're totally happy here. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I said, so if you wanted to move, right? And so we kind of got going through that. So they're again in my 36 touch, and I would say probably in like 6 months to a year, they'll be ready to move. And so then at that point, they're going to reach out, because it's not, the one that I got to buy, sell, it was crazy. And he's like, oh my gosh, well, you're so much better than the agent I had. And I bought in September of 2020 and he was a total jerk. And so I'm already ready to work with you. I was like, what? So, again, those are few and far between, but it worked. The other thing is when you're at their house is, or on the phone, what you can say is, the thing that we can do is we can put your house on a withheld from the MLS. And what that means is that I can market it not only to the clients I have, but I can market it to everybody in my office. And I have 200 agents in my office. And then you don't have days on market. That's the big thing, that if you start having days on market, then that's a negative thing, right? So I can do that. And then if we don't get any bites on that, what we can do is then we can put it on the market, and maybe that's 2 months later or whatever. Right. And they're like, oh yeah, okay. So then I always have the paperwork with me. And so then I can take it out and be like, here, just sign here and sign here. And then we're withheld. Right. And you can market to our entire office. And then if you know of an agent who's looking for something specifically like that, you can market to them. So if you had a listing and it didn't work out and they were like, well, let me know if you have anything else in the area, right? You can call them up and tell them. You just can't blast it on Facebook, and the DOC will not like that. But it's a way to get them to kind of think about what they're doing, and you find out their motivation very quickly. Like, oh my God, what? Withheld? Oh no, I don't think we can do that. Or they're like, oh, well, okay. And then I'm like, well, so what's your timeline look like? I was seeing somebody in November. They're like, well, probably December. And I'm like, oh my God, like, okay, well, we can do that, So, but just making a relationship with them and making it easy. The other thing is, I've talked about this before, is cloud CMA. So that's what I use to do CMAs, and it does cost money. However, it's basically your listing packet. And what you do is you get a book then from the front desk, and I think they're like $8 or $11, and it has binding like glue in it. Like Taylor, you know what they look like because Ryan used them, and you just use that for everybody, right? And then you print off your Cloud CMA, and it has their, you know, their home on the front, and then every page it'll, if it's comps, they'll have like 3 different comps, and it shows all the pictures of the comps, and it's something for them to look at afterwards after you leave. And then they can decide if like, wow, she really put a lot of time into this, like this looks pretty awesome. And you're able to put information in about yourself as well. So and really, like, how much does it cost a month or a year? I think I can get a discount for it for $300, so for the year, right? And HHG and John Hoffmeister use it religiously, and it's pretty slick. And you can put your testimonials in there, like all the things. I can actually, maybe I should do that. I can email you guys. Let's be real. I'll have Irene do it. Okay. So those will really set you apart when you're going in, even if it's not a golden letter, like whatever that case is. Oh my gosh, I got on a tangent. Any other questions about any of that?
Sounds pretty good.
Okay. All right.
Cloud CMA, you said?
Cloud CMA. So if you go into the MLS, it's on the bottom. Like if you're at a search or something, or if you're, you know, like you have the list of homes, if you, on the very bottom, there's like a tab, a bar, and Cloud CMA is at the end, and you can click on that, or you probably could type it in for a search. But I can get you the link too.
Okay.
The other thing I tell people is, you know, don't spend money on it until you need it. So once you have a listing, then do it. They have a 14-day trial period, and you can cancel if you want, right? And then you didn't have to pay for it. And if you end up getting it, you have a listing, right? Like, so then that pays for it. You guys are gonna think this is so dumb, but I just have to take a picture of us because otherwise Irene's like, who is there? Okay, so smile. Jason, that wasn't a smile. That was a scowl. So, all right, Jason, Cassandra, would you like to share? And if not, that's okay.
I'm all about wise, so I could take up the entire remaining 26 minutes if you wanted on wise, but
okay.
You know, there are a lot of great reasons, and I will start out with, if you ever have the opportunity to pick up Simon Sinek's book, start with why. It really talks about why this is important and kind of can really help with some mindset stuff. But you know, my whys are many. And, you know, as an example, joining Kelly's team, one of the things that was super important to me is I just want to support my wife. You know what I mean? She's very busy, and there are times we would go on vacation and she has to be on that vacation because she's overwhelmed with all these things that she's doing. And I'm thinking, you know, there are plenty of times I'm sitting at home and I probably could have taken some load off of my wife if I had been licensed or been able to do this. So right off the bat, if I can help her by doing something, that's amazing for me. And that's just a simple, easy kind of thing that was a reason why I might start with this. One of the funny things about my previous job is it was a retail sales manager. And so I did a lot of time sales training and things like that. And one of the very curious things they try and teach you right away is, you know, you got to treat this like it's your own business, man. And the only way you're going to be successful selling cell phones to people is if you treat this like it's your own business, man. And after 14 years, I woke up one morning and said, why am I treating somebody else's business like it's my business when I could just have my own business? So at that level, I kind of joke about it and say it in this way, but I just realized it was time to bet on myself, because who else is going to, I mean, there's nobody else out there who cares more about my results than I do. And why wouldn't I bet on me? So that's a why, you know what I mean? It's twofold in that way. I think, it's important for my kids, both from a financial perspective, to be able to provide for them, but I had a good job. It was paying fine. I didn't need, and it's never been, in a lot of ways, maybe like Taylor, I don't know anything about money. I didn't have money when I grew up. I could get by in a tent and with some snacks, and that's sufficient for me. But that's not sufficient for the way I want to have my kids' life. So, that moves on beyond that. But I also wanted them to see that you make your own way, and teaching them the value of hard work and building a business and what goes into that. And I don't know anybody who's ever gotten rich working for somebody. I don't know anybody who's ever gotten rich working for somebody. If you work for yourself, that's where the option and opportunity for that comes in. So that's a little bit of a why. Another why is, honestly, when I grew up, I didn't have a lot of money, but I also kind of jokingly say I was a feral child. My parents were not super present in my life for various reasons. And so I don't like a lot of attention. And when you work for somebody, they want to get their money's worth. So they're always paying attention to you and things like that. And working for myself, I'm my own best critic. I'm my own worst critic. I don't need somebody behind me every 5 minutes asking me, where's that piece of paper? Did you turn in that paper? We have to turn in 7 copies of that paper every day. I don't care about that. It's not useful. What's useful is a conversation between me and another human being. And do we make some differences, right? So that's a why. I wanted to work for myself. Another part of the big why then extends into, I want to be in a place where I can give back to people who were like me, who didn't have that guidance. And one of the things that Kelly and our team is committed to this year is, how are we funding charities? And we've chosen a charity in the area that allows us to get involved in mentorship programs and things like that in our local community. And by donating a portion of our proceeds, everything I do is designed to address the thing that I didn't like about my childhood. I didn't like that I didn't have somebody there telling me or guiding me. And I want somebody not to have to go through that if they don't have to. And if I can do something to change that, I'd be a fool not to. So that's a why. I mean, there's so many of them that when you start really plumbing those things for yourself, and that's what you're doing it for, it's for yourself, that you're looking for the whys, that you can start to use those, and then using those whys as motivation to do the difficult or the challenging or the other things. And then, it makes everything easier, even those tougher things that maybe I don't want to do or don't like. Because even if you do have just 2 ways of lead generation, there's still going to be days they might be your favorite, but they're not going to be your favorite today. And you've got to figure out a way to make that thing work anyway. And when you are working for yourself, there isn't somebody behind you and going to say, hey, where are your 100 calls? It's got to be you to say, you know what? Those kids out there who don't have guidance, they still need you out there pushing. Your kids still need you out there pushing, building this launch pad and this lifestyle for them. Your wife still may not be able to get all this stuff done. And if you can help her out today, that would be a great time the next time. There's but those whys kick in at the times that you need them to, and you can apply them to make things that sometimes are unpalatable palatable.
Yeah. Awesome. Have you guys read that book? Simon Sinek's? Oh, it is so good. And he Jason, is that the one where he draws the circles?
Yes.
Yeah. So
you
he
can watch
talks
the video, which kind of started I don't know which one is first and second, but
yeah,
the circles in the video is really, it's a pretty quick, what's your why, Simon Sinek. And it's, it talks about Apple and
right.
Everything you do is around this,
Right.
not the other way around.
Which, is a lot like KW, because for us, like I tell people all the time in recruiting appointments, I'm like, KW is a personal development and a training company. We just also happen to sell real estate, right? Like that's not our main thing, is to sell real estate. It's to get people educated on what they're doing. And is it educated on real estate? No. I mean, like, that's what we're talking about now. We're not talking about a ton of real estate stuff, right? We're talking about like, what's our mindset have to be, what's important for us to do. And, that's that you know, one of their, I think it's on the bold wall, but being in the training room, but that clarity is power, right? So when you have clarity and education on something, then that gives you that power to be able to go on to the next level. And that's what, I mean, that's what I love the most about KW is that opportunity for education, because I didn't have that my first place. And I had, you know, I was with them for a year and I had 0 transactions. Like it was a joke, you know? And when they talk about how many people get out of real estate, it's because they don't have that, you know, they feel like they're on an island by themselves. And granted, I'm not saying that people in KW don't ever feel like they're on an island, right? Like stuff happens. And but you know that you always have people to turn to when stuff gets crappy, right? And that's the biggest thing is that, you know, I won't know, and Jason won't know, and leadership won't know what you're going through unless you tell us. If all of a sudden you're radio silent, I'm like, yeah, something's wrong, right? Because you don't want to come to me and be like, so I'm having a problem with this. It's just, I'm just not going to say anything, and maybe she won't even notice, right? No, I notice, I re-notices, right? So, and that's why we're doing this KW prep series, because it's so important. And, you know, I want you guys to see what KW is putting together in order for new agents to succeed, right? So if you have a friend that's like, oh my God, you know, how are you doing in real estate? How do you like it? Da, da, da. Then you can say, well, there's a super cool program and you can go through it, and you don't even have to get the Kaplan education if you don't like how this goes, right? If you're like, yeah, I can't do this, I'm not in for this, then they don't have to go to the school, right? In the past, it'd be they pay for school, they get licensed, and then they're like, what the hell did I just do? Right? So
Hey, Jess.
okay, Cassandra, do you want to share?
Sure. Jason, were you going to say something?
I just want to finish up one other little quick thing, and I'll make it quick so you can jump on there. There's another part of whys, and I think that's kind of what Jessica was hitting on, is why do I work here? Why do I work here, right? If I can be a real estate agent, I can be that anywhere. Why here? And kind of the other thing you were talking about, Jessica, with mindset, and I want to kind of tie those two things together. One of the things we do every other Wednesday is we have a KW Connectors. It's a meeting we get together, and it's a mental health meeting. We talk about issues that are challenging us, and talk about different ways and strategies to kind of work through those different things and address a lot of mental health topics. It's a share within the group, but it's a closed door, you know, outside it's a, you know, that's not something we share outside of the group. But there's so many little things like that that allow you to connect with the people here in the market center, that you can take advantage of, and I encourage you to take advantage of if you don't know they're out there, to just be part of that and be part of the family and the gang, because a big part of the whys are, you know, I care about my peers and I want them to do well, and it's way more important for them to do well than it is for me to ever finish first in anything. So, you know, if those are things that are important to you, please join us for those types of meetings. Go ahead.
So some of my big whys, I mean, I've said them kind of since I began, but it hasn't changed too much. But I would say self-worth. I've mentioned that previously too. I've worked 2 to 3 jobs the whole life since I started working, and you know, no matter how much I work, I would pull into the garage and pretty much cry, knowing that I had to wake up in about 6 to 8 hours and start all over again. And that was every day, every night. And, you know, I put in a lot of hours, and no matter what, I just felt like I was never getting to financially to the point of feeling like I had enough self-worth. Like, what am I doing this for? I can't go on vacations, which is my next point, like vacations. I feel like people need to, like, I don't know. I don't care if like you're going to the beach. I don't care if you're staying home. I don't care what you do, but you need some time. You need some time off. You need to, it's just a reset, you know, for your own pure happiness, for your own joy, for your own mental health. And all that work that I would do, I never felt like financially I was able to still take vacations. I would try. And when I would, really all I would do the whole time I was on vacation was stress out, because I knew that when I came back, I was going to have to work even more or even harder than I already was, just because of that money, because of that financial situation. So it's like I wasn't even enjoying myself. Um, and I've had it. I've so had it with that. Like, you need to enjoy yourself. You need that vacation and feel financially comfortable to come back and not have this swamp of overwhelming stress of more work, more work, more work. Um, and then also, I tend to, or at least I used to, I tend to host like a lot of different parties or help people plan different parties and things like that. I love, love, love doing it. But even when I would host, just like my friends, you know, my friends and my family, invite all these people over, I would always say, you know, oh, I got it, you know, like I'll get all the food prep, I'll do all of this, you know, I'll do all of that. I always love these little decor things or little fun stuff, you know, and whatnot. But you tend to, when you host, no matter what, you tend to spend a lot more money. You tend to, you know, and you're cleaning your house and this and that, all these things. But um at the end of the day, I would host for my friends just literally to connect, you know, to have this connection with people, hang out, have something to do. And even a while ago, you know, I would spend hundreds of dollars on this, literally. And then it was a great night. But the next day I'm like, crap, like I don't have any money. Like, why did I do that? But the point is it's because I love being around people. I love connecting with people. I just needed to find something that was going to put me in that path of connecting me with people, but making money, you know, maybe not spending all this money, not having, you know, jobs that 2 to 3 jobs that aren't providing me to do things like that. Um, and then lastly, it's really hard for me to get a job. Unfortunately, I don't know about this day and age, you know, it seems like everybody's hiring now, but for me to get a job is extremely difficult. I get told no quite a bit. I've done, you know, 10, 15. I've done, I think my most was like 17 or like 20 something applications that I've put in. And they all ended up being a no, you know. So being a little person, it has its struggles of workplaces, you know. And I would get told that I was a liability issue a lot, just because they were like, oh, you know, what if you need a stool? Well, plenty of people's need a stool to grab something or to do this or whatnot, you know. Well, if you fall, you're a liability issue, you know. And so I got told that a lot. I got turned away a lot with different jobs. So the jobs I had for a long time. Our family-owned tanning salon we had for 16 years. And it was just my mom and I running all of it, running the whole show together. And it was a very successful, very good business. And small business, family owned. Everybody knew us in town. It was great. But yeah, I was there for, you know, 15 years. And then I was bartending. I was bartending at 2 different places, a winery and then also like a bowling alley bar restaurant. But it just so happened that that bowling alley one, it was a really good friend of mine who owns it. And so she took a chance on me and she was like, it was the best thing I ever did. You know, I was there for 10 years. I was, you know, one of their best, I would like to say, employees that, you know, really kicked butt and understood the money aspect of things. And yeah, it was a good opportunity and it worked out. And then the winery one, I was only at for a year before I ended up making this decision to come here to KW. But, you know, that takes up 1 year, 10 years, and 16 years of my life of working. And really, it's truly because those people were willing to take a chance on me. And a lot of many other places just weren't. So I really needed to figure out something. Okay, if I'm not happy with always working 2 to 3 jobs, if it's not giving me what I want in life, you know, a vacation once a year, you know, things like that, I have to figure out something. And so at the end of the day, COVID happened. I probably drank too much wine and thought about it a little bit too much and was like, well, I'm quitting all my jobs and I'm going to go into real estate and take a chance on myself. So that's what I did. But, so there's many whys, but it all kind of comes down to self-worth and being financially stable. So, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I remember the first time we met. How many hours was it we talked?
A lot.
I was like, somebody said to me, they're like, when did you leave? And I was like, oh, I think it was like 8 p.m.
Yeah. I think we started at like 4. I don't know. It was a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much, you guys, for sharing, because it is one of those things that I think we don't think about enough, and we don't hear about enough from other people, right? And making those connections with people. Like I will never forget all the stuff you guys told me, right? And it's really cool to have a workplace environment that it fosters this, so do you guys have anything else that you want to share? Or Jason, do you want to wrap it up like with a bow? Because I'm half not in the bag, but I don't know what I am. Half something. I'm something.
I don't know. I'm convinced it's half in the bag.
Yeah, with water.
Yeah, there's enough of that. I had my COVID brain last week, so I know all about it. No, I think that the lessons are pretty clear, and I think that they did a really nice job laying out the whys. And if you are in a place where you have the opportunity to write that down in a way that you can come back to it at those tough moments. One of the things I talked about the other day in another group was, we all get that imposter syndrome, where you wake up and go, I don't know if I can do this. I mean, why? Yesterday you were fine, but today I don't know if I'm the right guy. I mean, they pick me, they think I'm the right person, they think I'm the right agent. How do they know? And I don't even feel that way about myself. And if you can look back at that whys and you've got them somewhere that you can look at and reference, you say to yourself, all right, these are why. This is why I'm doing this. This is why I can do this. These are the values I provide. And then it's a real reassuring thing to be able to be part of that. And then secondarily, understand that from a group perspective, at least my mentality is, you guys are in a group and we're in a group together. And if you need somebody just to say, hey, don't be afraid to call out Jessica, myself, or your other group members. I mean, I would feel pretty confident knowing that each of us would be there for one another if you ever have that moment where you're just at a little bit of a loss. And that's what we're here for, to help drive that in whatever capacity we can. So know your whys and live them. It's a lot easier.
Absolutely. So are you guys open to doing a vision board? Is that something you would like to do? I mean, you don't have to, but I think it's super helpful. So if you, like I said, this this one's like on that foam board stuff. But if you pick an area where you, I figured this out the wrong way. I like made a giant one and then I had nowhere to put it. I'm like, well, what the frick, right? I was like, all right, so pick a size first in relationship to where you're putting it, and have it be something that you can look at every day. And the other thing that people do, they've taken a picture and put it on their phone. I mean, then people are like, well, I just don't really build it. I just did it digitally. And I was like, well, okay, but don't we want to pretend like we're in kindergarten and we cut pictures and glue them on with glue sticks? I feel like we should. That's what we want to do. But
of course,
those things will start to, like, you look at them and they start to happen.
Yep.
Like you're like, oh yeah, I wanted to go to Mexico. Well, I better figure that out. Like, what am I doing? Well, I probably should get a passport. Nope, I'm gonna get the tickets first, but whatever, that's what I do. So, but I think it'd be helpful for you to have that in front of you. And then if you can just hold it up next week, and I will make sure that Irene shares with anybody who's not on here, if they can do one as well. And then, the module 4, no, I'm sorry, we're in module 4. So the homework would be module 5. I'm really sorry. I don't even know what it is because Irene only sent me module 4. So, it's something good. It's totally good. But same thing, like watch that, do the work, and then bring it to this. And then we will, and bring your vision board. So right, guys. Well, it was good to see you. One of these days we'll all be in person, you know. Probably never, but oh, just kidding.
It makes you wonder though, right?
I know I mean, it is handy, right? Because like if we go around the screen, like Jason, obviously you're at the office, but you live in Lakeville. I live in Apple Valley. Shantia, you're Brooklyn Center, right? Cassandra is Belle Plaine, Amy is Farmington, and Taylor is St. Paul, right?
Mhm.
So, I mean, seriously, like it makes way more sense to be on Zoom. I will just say that hands down all the time. But what I will also say is that what we want to do like once a quarter is have some sort of get together where we can all be together, and maybe it's the happy hour at Olivia's house or it's whatever, right? But when you get to go to those things and meet people like our crazy Christmas party or whatever it is, right? Those are you'll build friendships with other people that you haven't seen. So all right, guys, I don't need to keep you on here for 3 more minutes just because it says that I should.
We're not going to stand on ceremony. Come on.
No. And then Jason, we're not going to be going till 7:30 tonight with everybody.
Sweet.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to try and jam in, a meal in 22 minutes.
Right. No, you don't have to do that. All right, guys. Well,
All right.
it was good seeing you, and I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds
Okay.
good. See ya.
Bye.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.